The following podcast has been rated PGN. Parental guidance is neglected.
Boy, it's been a long time since we've had a little father-son chat.
I am your father.
Father, if you can hear me, I failed.
Don't let your mother smell that beer on your breath. She'll take it out on me.
I'm here with my dad.
I know what you're gonna say, son. And you're right. You're right.
Who is your daddy and what does he do?
I've abandoned my boy!
How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to Parental Guidance Neglected. I'm Jackson Burns.
I'm Regan Burns.
That's Regan Burns, my father. That was good. Thank you for completely just cutting me off in that moment.
Well, we might as well do things the way we do every week.
that is true. Welcome back, everybody. This is episode 19, right?
19. This has been our most disorganized launch so far. My light went out. My ring light that gives me some kind of ambiance. So I just apologize right now.
I'll try to boost you up and post as much as I can. But
yeah, I just look gaunt, and don't even watch this on YouTube. If you're watching it on YouTube, it's going to be too distracting. Just turn that off. Go over to Spotify or one of the other podcast platforms and listen to it. This is a listen only podcast right here.
Me and my dad watched that Sam Rockwell movie Moon last night, and I feel like watching this feed is like watching his deteriorating self interact with his
I almost look like him.
self.
I look red and whatever. I can't even. Is there a way for me to like mask the screen so I don't have to see the image of me coming back looking so horrifying? Yeah.
I don't know.
It's also early. We don't normally do it this early. You must have something going on today because you were like a tight 10 today. You were like, hey, let's do it at 10 a.m. And I'm like, okay. And then at like 9:50, you were like, you about ready to go? And 9:55, you're like, let's go. So what's going on? You got a hot date? You got a movie to go see?
I have a haircut. I have a haircut appointment at 1, and I've been having a lot of issues with uploading the podcast lately. That's why it's been late sometimes. So I want to make sure that I am able to edit it and get it going as quickly as possible, so I can just at least get it on the platform and not have to worry about it for the rest of the weekend.
Well, you opened Pandora's box, Jackson. It's what everyone's been mentioning on our Instagram and our YouTube channel. Everyone wants to know, since you brought it up, what's going to be the hairstyle today? What are you doing? Are you going faux hawk? Is the mullet hanging around for a while? Are you going to go longer? More business in the front, even more party in the back?
More business in the front. I'm keeping the mullet. I'm just trimming it down. I'm just going in for a healthy little haircut before school starts up again.
And you got the ball cap on today, so you kind of look like all the major league baseball players, especially pitchers for some reason, are really the mullet.
That is true.
There are a lot of mullets in pitchers right now. Not that
the mullet capital of the world.
Not that I'm a big MLB guy, but I have noticed when I do tune into the ESPN that the mullet has come back. Do you? What percentage of kids do you think when you go back to college in a couple weeks are going to have mullets? Out of your entire campus, who is cool enough?
I don't know. I only know one other person that has or had one. I don't know if they still do.
So this hasn't completely.
I'm going to go like 1%.
Really, that's small. So it hasn't really caught on yet. You're like,
well, 1% is still like depending on how big the sample size is, like a good chunk.
Right. If it can't,
I mean, it's coming back to the point where like you can have one and people don't look at you and go, "Oh, white trash." Like in that sense, not in the point where it's like, "Oh, everyone's doing it." But there has been an influx, I will say.
Yeah. If it suddenly,
I had go ahead. I was gonna say I had when me and the guys went to that concert last week. I had a connection moment where I was standing next to someone that also had a mullet, and we kind of made eye contact and did a little
a little nod, that little all right, me and you, we're in on it.
It's kind of like we're in this together, yeah.
If it suddenly came back in style to shave like a lightning bolt or a Nike logo in the side of your head, would you do that too? If that was
no,
suddenly
that I would not
that
do.
you would not do. You wouldn't
No,
put
that's a little.
You wouldn't put like
That's a little middle school.
your initials in the back of your head or anything. You wouldn't do that. That's not something you would.
Just to make sure everyone knows it's me.
Right. Have you ever colored
Yeah,
your hair?
that's funny, though.
I'm trying to remember. Have you? Am I blanking?
I've never colored my hair.
You've never colored your hair. Can I tell you right now?
Nada, never.
You would look horrible as a blonde.
I think so too.
Yeah,
I think so too.
Because you would have those. You have very thick, dark eyebrows, and then against your blonde, it would be like
the eyebrows kind of work against me. If I were to dye my hair, it would have to be a color because just the blonde wouldn't.
You know what you would look like?
Atrocious.
Google this right now on your screen or on your phone or whatever. Google image of Gary Busey in Lethal Weapon 2. Or was it 1? I think it was Lethal Weapon 2.
He was in Lethal Weapon?
Yeah, he was in the second one, I believe. See if you can get up an image, and everyone at home, pull up Gary Busey, Lethal Weapon 2. I think that's kind of what you would look like.
Is Gary what color is Gary Busey's hair naturally?
Is Gary Busey anything naturally? He's a complete and utter freak. I don't know. Were you able to get a picture up of
he aged? I'm looking at a couple.
Well,
he aged like warm milk, man. There's like side by sides of him now and versus when he was young, and it is looking rough, I will say.
Well, I think he was in an accident of some kind. I think he was in a major car accident that messed up his face.
Great. Well, now I feel horrible about it, but.
Okay, no, you know what? He had blonde hair in Lethal Weapon, but he didn't have a mullet. That's what I was thinking. I just got a picture of him in Lethal Weapon.
No, there was no mullet, yeah.
Yeah, but he's probably had one at some point in time. But anyways, don't go blonde. Don't go blonde.
Okay.
2 weeks, a little less than 2 weeks, counting down till you go back to college and we start doing these things really remote again, not this fake remote where you're upstairs in your bedroom and I'm down in the basement. How do you feel? Are you ready? Are you ready to get back to school?
Yeah, I'm ready.
You're ready.
I'm ready to go back.
Summers are long, aren't they? I remember summers in between college. They're long.
Yeah.
It's suddenly...
They're longer than you think.
I know.
Because on paper, it's like, oh, it's just a quick little, 2 months, whatever.
Right.
It goes by slowly,
and
I will say.
The problem is when you're in school, you're just moving a mile a minute. And so it's like you go from like 60 to 0 like that, and suddenly, boom.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, I don't know.
Just a screeching halt.
A screeching halt. So,
all
right.
Yeah.
You're excited to get back in there. Your buddies were in town last week. If you listened to our last episode, your 2 cohorts from the Good Enough podcast, you had a good week with them.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And but you're back at it. We're trying to. It's weird. We were like, well, let's catch up on movies, and then we're like, well, there's really not a whole heck of a lot playing. Do you feel like we did not go see we did not go see Minions. We have not seen DC's League of Super Pets. We didn't go see Mrs. Harris in Paris. We didn't go see Where the Crawdads Cry or Sing or whatever crawdads do.
Okay,
are we neglecting our audience? Are we being too elitist? Are there people out there going, why won't they go see a commercially PG soft film?
Because here's the thing.
Okay.
I feel like people already know. I feel like it would be redundant if I were to go see the Minions movie and go, yeah, this was a kid's movie. I didn't like it. Right. It wasn't made for me. I think it's already preset in our viewers' minds that we are not the Mrs. Harris Goes to Paris type.
Right. But what if we actually had enjoyed it? Maybe are we being elitist? Are we going, oh, I'm not going to.
Yes.
We are? Okay. That's fine. I'm okay with it.
I think it's okay. But I think I'm okay with that. I'll be a little bit elitist in that. Because we're not ignoring. We saw Thor. We went to go see, and we still go see big commercially successful movies. It's not like, we're just going to, we're not just sitting here talking about Dogtooth, we're actually going and seeing movies, but
right.
Yeah.
And but we talked about what we usually do this at the end, but we'll talk about it now. Next week's show, we'll definitely go see even though we both agree it looks horrible. The new Idris Elba movie.
I'm going to keep talking. I have to go fix my charger real quick.
Yeah, go fix it. We're going to go see the new Idris Elba movie, Beast, which by all... I forget the phrase I'm looking for. Whatever. It looks like Jaws on land. Would you not agree? It's Jaws on land.
No, it's definitely Jaws on land.
We are going to see that, and then we're going to try to catch up. I'm going to go try to see Emily the Criminal today, and I want to see Fall, which is two chicks hanging from a tower or something, which is probably, I think it's just whatever that two girls underwater with a shark. Now they're two girls hanging from a tower, and then maybe see Resurrection with Tim Roth and Rebecca Hall as well. But
it's weird because it's almost like a new trope where it's like two women stuck in a place is like the new thing.
Yeah.
Because there's a couple of shark movies that were like that. And now they're doing Fall. It's like they found their new thing.
Yeah, put two girls in peril so that they can yell at each other the whole time. Oh my god, Tabitha, what are we gonna do? So yeah, next week will be Beast and. Hopefully, Emily the Criminal and Fall and maybe Resurrection. Also, I think we probably ought to, if we can this week, is check out the new Ron Howard movie, 13 Lives.
Oh, yeah.
Which is available.
That actually did interest me.
Yeah, that's available on Prime now. That seems to be the hot new streaming movie. Even though we got burned on The Gray Man on Netflix a couple of weeks ago, we should probably go back to the streaming land. And see that. And, since we're on it, talking about...
Ron Howard, Colin Farrell. I have higher hopes for it than I did Gray Man.
Yeah, since we're talking about it, it is next week. It's the opportunity for our listeners and fans and friends to pick a movie for us. Jackson, a gentleman that I went to high school with, David Allen, incredibly funny and very smart guy, has made some suggestions for us. And I have to be honest with you, at first I thought he was kidding, but he said, no, he's dead serious. We're looking for recommendations from our audience of great films that we may have missed. And he gave me two that I thought he was joking. I'm like, are you trying to screw us over? And he was like, no. Then he gave us a third and even a fourth one. So...
All right. Well, there's no rules against that, I guess.
So here's I'm going to throw them out, and I'm going to let you pick, okay? Instead of me kind of
Okay.
I've narrowed it down to it's definitely David. By the way, thanks to everyone who sent in some picks. They're on the waiting list. David picked one from a couple years ago called Shin Godzilla, which apparently is a Godzilla movie.
Film?
It's it's a Godzilla movie. I don't know if it's...
Well, so was the one with all the American one. I just didn't know.
Yeah, no. This is a Japanese... Google that while I'm, young Jamie, while I'm talking about that. Shin Godzilla. He also picked another one that this is where I thought he was joking, because I remember seeing the ads for this. This is this whacked out Nicolas Cage movie from a couple years called The Color Out of Space, which looks like some kind of sci-fi... psychedelic chance for Nick Cage.
I remember seeing this too, actually, or seeing at least trailers for this.
Which one? The Color Out of Space or Shin Godzilla?
The Color Out of Space, not the Shin Godzilla. I've never heard of.
Yeah. So the Color Out of Space with Nick Cage, and I literally said to him, I said, David, are you messing with me? And he said, no. Shin Godzilla was super interesting to me because of the way it played with the standard format of the giant monster movie. He goes, I can't elaborate, but I won't try your patience. And then he said The Color Out of Space was a Nick Cage gotta pay the bills horror movie that was way better than I expected it to be. I don't know. I mean, he gave me a couple others, but I feel like I might save those because I feel like one of the two of those might be... What are you thinking next week? Are we going to watch a Godzilla movie? Or are we going to watch Nick Cage burnt me earlier this year on The Weight of Unbearable Talent, which was like, it was the movie I was more pumped for than any other film this year.
You were very excited for that, yeah.
I was so disappointed. But then I still haven't seen Pig from last year, which apparently was like his return to really good acting. Like apparently that movie Pig.
Yeah, I never saw that either.
Yeah, I haven't either. Maybe we should stick that on the list one week. But yeah, so I don't know. What are you feeling? Flip a coin, or you call it, Jackson?
I think I want to do Shin Godzilla just based off the fact that I've never in my lifetime, the only kind of Godzilla movies I've ever seen have been complete schlock fests.
Well, most of the Japanese ones
are.
are. I mean, I don't know.
But you know what I mean? Like I mean, but he made it seem more interesting than that. At least I've never seen a Godzilla movie that I enjoyed, and I'm willing to give this one a chance, considering that it's not something I haven't heard before. You know, it's more considering that it's from Japan. I'm assuming it's a little more based towards like the
what it should be.
Material,
yeah,
I guess whatever.
You never saw the original Godzilla from Japan, right? Like. Yeah.
No.
And they've made 1 million of them over there. But this is a recent one. I think it's like, 2016, 17?
2016, yeah.
Yeah. So, all right. So next week, a little teaser before we get into everything. We're going to see Beast and Emily the Criminal, 13 Lives, Fall, Resurrection. Maybe some of those, maybe all of them. We'll see how time allows. And David Allen calling me back from high school and saying, check out Shin Godzilla. I mean, I assume we'll be able to find it somewhere. You can find Godzilla movies everywhere. Yeah. This week's big new movie that opened up, though, Jackson, we did not see it together. Just didn't work out. We do like to see films together sometimes. The only problem is when we see a movie together, I think we both know how we feel about it walking out. Like, I can sense.
I can kind of sense.
I can sense your energy, and I can sense your. I don't think we ever walk out and we kind of know. And then someone goes, "I loved it," and you go, "Really? I thought I was getting total negative vibes from you." But
yeah, seriously,
we did not see this together. This is first-time director Helena Rain. Never heard of her. It's her first feature, I believe. She's an actress. She's been working for a long time and writing some stuff. I'd say the only recognizable people in this are Maria Bakalova. She played Barat's daughter in the sequel to Barat, and obviously Pete Davidson, who, God, really doesn't get enough press. You know, if we could just hear more about what's going on with
really
Pete
underrated
with Pete Davidson
out of the media.
Did you know anyone else in this cast? I mean, we looked up Lee Pace, who has done some Marvel work, and
he was Ronin and all the Guardians of the Galaxy movies.
Yeah, but I didn't know any of the other millennial chicks in this show.
I knew not. Some of them looked kind of familiar, but I could not tell you where I saw them from. And then I looked into it, and I hadn't seen them from anything. So
yeah, the movie is called it's called Bodies, Bodies, Bodies. Long story short, take a bunch of rich, annoying millennials and put them into a big mansion where there just happens to be a hurricane, there just happens to be a power outage, and no cars to help them escape. And a fun game of Bodies, 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 which is kind of like a hidden murder game that you can play, turns into the real deal. Jackson, thoughts?
Before I give my thoughts, I would.
You always have a before disclaimer.
I know, but I have to
tell you. I have to preface.
I feel like I would have enjoyed this movie if I did not watch it following a 6-hour shift at my movie theater. Because this was my day. Right. I woke up early.
Yeah.
I went and I ran box office for 6 hours in a completely dead Friday. No one was buying tickets. Then I had to drive to a different movie theater location.
Yeah.
I had my hands full of concessions. I was trying to get in the theater. I barely made it in time just to find that there was someone else in my seat. So I had to deal with that.
You're in a bad mood now.
So by the time I actually sat down, I was like, okay, this better be Citizen Kane 2 because I just...
You were tired.
Too much
you were not in a good movie viewing mood.
I was not in a good movie viewing mood.
Right.
And with that being said, I did not dislike this movie. Mm-hmm. I think that it kept me interested the whole time. It kept my attention. I wanted to know what was happening. It's kind of a murder mystery, dark comedy type thing. And I definitely the whole time it did keep me on my toes. I was like, oh man, what's happening with this? My biggest issue, though, is that I felt like there wasn't really anybody in this movie for me to root for.
Yeah.
It kind of felt more of just like watching a group of dislikable people go at it.
Not even Maria Bakalova, kind of the stranger of the group, the newcomer?
Not really. I didn't really get... I think I didn't have enough time with her to really... understand, and the way that she acted in the movie just felt stupid. Everything she did, I was kind of like, why did you just do that? Like that didn't make any sense for your anything. And the only character that I did like was Pete Davidson's character.
Really?
And I think Pete Davidson's really funny, and I know that we might not agree on that, but yeah. I thought his character was written the realist for anyone in my generation out of all the people. At least I know people that act like him the most in real life.
Right.
Everyone else felt kind of like a Gen Z caricature in a way, and I think another issue that I had was just that in my head the whole time I was thinking, people are going to watch this movie 5 years from now and it's already going to be outdated. Because the jokes are so prevalent to now,
right? That
I just feel like it'll be, almost a novelty piece by then.
Yeah.
But with that being said, I did enjoy the mystery. I was engaged. Little iffy on the ending. I was a little bit kind of like, oh well, all right. It was definitely an original idea to some extent. I think that there was a lot of good sequences in here. I liked the more drawn out long scenes with the characters. I thought that was really interesting and special, like just having them stay in one room and kind of work things out, seeing the way that each of the characters work.
Right.
But overall, I don't know if I'd come back to this.
Yeah. I kind of describe it as the Knives Out for your generation.
Yeah, it was a bit like that.
Yeah, it is definitely, there's a murder mystery. There's really two halves to Bodies. And I'll tell you what I took away here. The first half is what I call the getting to know and remembering why I hate all these people. So it's like 45 minutes of rich, spoiled, constantly on their phone, worrying about group chats, worrying about, and look, I'm not trying to sound like an old guy here, but I am. But there was no way I was going to care about any of these people. They were just annoying.
Well, even as someone who's a part of this generation, no one likes these kind of. They're like the nihilistic, like
yes,
always on their phones. Social media is life.
Yes. Everything is about making a TikTok dance. Everything is about whatever, gaslighting and it just ghosting and. So the very first half of this film, the first 45, 50 minutes of it was excruciating for me. I did not care for it. I did not find any of it funny. I have to be honest with you. I think Pete Davidson is fine. But I didn't find him extremely laugh out loud. The couple funny lines that he did have about, him being fuckable and whatever I saw in the trailers already. I knew it was coming. I knew the murders were going to start happening. I could not wait for them to happen soon enough. Now, once the film enters its second act and we get our first victim and things start to take off and we start to see the relationships between them deteriorate, I did enjoy the second half of the film a lot more. I did find it suspenseful. It did keep me guessing. I did not see the big twist ending coming. So it surprised me. There is a twist. I mean, maybe people will be looking for it now, but
it's a murder mystery. Who the murderer is, whatever.
You're right, who the murderer is. And so I did think that it redeemed itself quite a bit in the second half. I don't want to say the first half is boring. It just didn't speak to me. It was like being at a party that I couldn't get out of fast enough. It's like if you had a party in the backyard and I came out to say hi to your friends and 8 of them were all like that, I'd be like, I'm going to go upstairs now. I can't be around you people anymore. Which I don't know, maybe is the point of it. Like, they're all going to get killed. So maybe in a way that kind of worked. I couldn't wait for them to get bumped off. But I enjoyed it. I thought the girls were especially strong. As far as no one seemed like they went into caricature land too much. It wasn't like, oh, she's the dumb one, she's the homecoming. I mean, they were all pretty solid and had a little bit of nuance to them. But I can't say that I was completely redeemed by the ending. But if you can stomach the first half, the second is a lot of fun once we get to the Knives Out element. For me, horrible first half, very well done and suspenseful second half. So I'm going to meet in the middle and give Bodies. a C. Average.
All right. And for me, once again I just really struggled connecting with any of the characters in this movie. Maybe you're not supposed to, but I just overall didn't enjoy just kind of watching a massive argument go down for an hour and a half. It just wasn't my cup of tea. And like I said, it was a long day already. So
yeah,
I'm also going to go right down the middle and give this a 5.
Yeah. Bodies. How do you think it's going to do at the box office? I don't see this being huge.
I mean, I was working box office opening day at my theater, and while I do work at a smaller theater, maybe 2 groups of people bought tickets to this movie. Maybe it was really more people were seeing the re-release of Top Gun than they were because we were giving out we're now giving out free posters for people who want to go see Top Gun again.
Wow!
So if you want to go see Top Gun and get a free small little poster with
Tom
Cruise and everyone's face on it. Then,
do you know that's one of the? Do you know that's now one of the top 10 movies of all time? It entered the top 10 of all time box office hits.
Like, I just don't get it. I just don't get it at all. I don't get it. It was so mid. I just don't understand.
You didn't grow up on that.
I know, but but here's the thing. There's people that I know that they're like, this is my favorite movie. I'm like, what the hell are you talking about, dude?
Well,
have you seen 2 movies?
Yeah, well,
like even 2 movies?
We also
ridiculous.
We also put Trump in the White House, so you just never know America, buddy. America's
there you go.
all over the place.
There you go.
I have a feeling anyone over the age of 30 that goes and sees this movie is going to walk out after 30 minutes. They probably won't even get there. You're going to have the patience to get to the part where it gets interesting. And there's an awful. There's an awful lot of partying to get through before you get to it.
One of the groups that came in to go see that movie was like extremely old couple. And I was just like, bless your heart, you are not gonna. This is not gonna.
They're not gonna make it. But let's be honest. How many times have you and I gone to the theaters and we see old people go in? They're sleeping within 10. It's nap time for them.
Yeah. No, it is. Yeah. It's their escape.
And by the way, I don't know why I'm making fun of that because I fall asleep in the theaters all the time.
You do.
It's
true.
It's almost bad they have those reclining chairs now. It's so comfortable. I'm used to the day when I was your age, Jackson. We went to a movie theater. It was like a hard wooden chair with some felt on it, and it didn't recline.
That's horrible.
And if you were lucky, it might just rock a little bit, so you could put your weight back. And the aisles were thin, and you couldn't put your feet up in front because the next wooden chair was right there. Now it's like you got the
and
buttons.
When we went to school, it was uphill both ways.
You know what, you son of a bitch! Don't even do that. Don't even go there.
I'm doing it a little bit.
I know. Well, that's why it's the PGN podcast. 2 generations talking movies and whatever else fathers and sons do. It was Jackson's week to pick a film. He picked Fast and the Furious 5, the 5th or the 9th. No, he did not. Of course he did not. He's Jackson. You know he's going to pick some quote-unquote classic, obscure art movie. Maybe he'll break that trend. Maybe next month he's going to be like, you know what, Dad? I never saw the Shaggy DA from Disney Studios. I want to see that. I want to see how about Herbie the Love?
Shaggy DA.
Herbie the Love Bug. I want to see that. No, Jackson picked. Well, Jackson, go ahead and tell the movie you picked. You know more about it than I do.
Yeah. So I'm a really big fan of the director Yorgos Lanthimos, who did. By the way, y'all gotta chill out with the saying The Lobster is the worst movie of all time. Jesus Christ, you guys. That's just all. Okay.
It's bad. It's bad, though.
But the worst movie of all time.
No, that would be Enter the Void.
Okay.
See, now you walked into that one.
So he did The Lobster. He did most recently the Favorite, which was a pretty got a lot of buzz around it. I feel like, right? I mean, I never saw it personally, but
got tons of Oscar nominations, and I think Olivia Colman won the Oscar for it. Yeah, very good film.
I'm pretty sure she did. Yeah.
Yeah.
The Favorite. Also, my favorite film that he's made, The Killing of a Sacred Deer. All fantastic movies, and so I thought, why not go a little farther back and see one of his earlier films? And I chose a movie called Dogtooth. It's his second ever feature film. I thought it was his first, but apparently I was wrong about that.
It's a foreign film. This is in what?
It's a foreign film.
Language?
It's Greek. It's Greek. And yeah, that's that's a little bit of context for the movie itself, I guess, why I picked it at least.
Yeah, the movie's called Dogtooth. It revolves around a family of 5, a mother, a father, 2 daughters, and a son. The daughters and the son, even though they appear much older in the film and probably have to legally because they're all naked through most of the film.
Well, they're supposed to be older.
They are supposed to be older, but they look like they're probably in their upper 20s, and I have a feeling they're supposed to be just coming of age, between the ages of 18 and 21. The idea is that the mother and father, mostly the father, I feel more like the mother was going along with it at some point, have completely entombed their children from the get-go in their home, keeping them not only from the outside world, but also teaching them rules of life and language of life that is not, in fact, indicative of the real world. Examples: airplanes that fly over their heads, they have to explain that. They say those are actually the size they appear to be in the sky. So they're really only about 3 inches high, and every once in a while they might drop into the yard and you'll get an airplane. And then they hide toy airplanes in the yard saying, look, one fell out of the sky. They say that cats are dangerous and can kill you, and they especially like to eat children. But if you get on 4 and you bark at them, you could scare them off. They say that you can't leave their compound/home in anything other than a car, or you will become deathly ill. And then there's things in the language they do, like they don't call salt salt. They call salt a telephone because they don't want them to know what a telephone is, or that there is the ability to communicate with other parts of the world. Now, never mind that Dad leaves every day in a car and goes out into this dangerous world and works. But that is the premise. Why they're doing this, that could be debated. I'm not sure if the filmmaker makes it completely clear. It's an interesting concept. I don't know if I completely buy just how incredibly unknowledgeable they were of anything around them or the world. I mean, they've been there for 18 to 20 years. Has a plumber never been by? No cars go by? Is there... in that time, has no one ever bothered to take their foot and just step it a little bit outside the line of their home? Some of the stuff that we are supposed to believe that they are indoctrinated to, and maybe they would be from youth, I found a bit far-fetched. But that's the premise. I would say this is a very dark, sometimes funny, extremely graphic, sometimes for the point of, is the director getting his kicks from shooting this? Because I got the idea. I don't know if the sex scenes have to be as graphic. I'm rambling a little bit here. I think you can tell I'm a little all over the map on this one. I get the premise. I like the concept. I think it went way too far. Thoughts, Jackson?
Yeah. So I agree with you to some extent, for sure. Because I think, like, you can say a lot of things about Yorgos Lanthimos and his weird directing style and his dry delivery, whatever. I get it, it's stylized. But I think that he is one of the most consistent people working today that always comes with new and original ideas. I mean, say what you will about The Lobster or Killing with a Sacred Deer, but, I mean, goddamn it, those took a lot of thought and are definitely out there and definitely original. And this is no exception. I think that this was definitely a really interesting concept. However, I do think that this could have been better in execution. I did like some of the things you brought up. Like, I understand, like, not liking the kind of overdrawn out sex scenes, but I think it kind of nailed home the idea of, like, he kind of does this thing really often in all his movies of, like, habitual, like, non-romantic lovemaking almost. And I think that that's a kind of a consistent theme in this, and it works to some degree. But I am with you in that this is a tough idea to sell, that you can keep a group of 3 people, 3 20-something-year-olds in this compound without any kind of, I guess, want to leave, regardless of which. I mean, it does end up culminating in the lead daughter,
Yeah.
It's called Dogtooth because the dad says that you can only leave, you're ready to leave the compound when your fangs, your Dogtooth comes out. Which was a really tough sell, because I was like, I feel like that big climactic. I guess I can spoil it. This movie came out a long time ago. She knocks her tooth out with a weight, and I'm like, that was dying to happen way earlier in their life, as opposed to now.
I got a lot of the symbolic stuff. There's a dog their family dog is actually away being trained, and yet he's rebelling and not doing well with the training. So it was really like hitting the nail on the head with like
that was a very hitting the nail on the coffin.
I'm like, sometimes you rebel against being trained and taught what to do. There's a I think my least favorite character, because I just didn't know where she was coming from, is the father hires a security guard from his workplace to our dogs are up there barking at something. Must know we're talking about Dogtooth. Hires a security guard, a female, to come and satisfy his son, who's coming of age, his sexual desires. So basically, he gives her money to come to the house and to sleep with the son. Boy, does that take a dark turn. But there was a whole concept about she wasn't getting what she needed, so then she turns to one of the daughters in the house, and I'm like, where's the mom during all it? I didn't understand her. Like, she suddenly felt, I have to go to the daughter to get sexually satisfied. And then when much is revealed about what's going on, how the outside world is starting to leak in, there are 2 extremely violent scenes that come out of nowhere, both involving the father towards the woman he hires and to his daughter. But with that
was actually my favorite part of the movie. Like, not her character, but those 2 scenes I thought told me more about the characters than the rest of the movie did. Because at least there's the one scene where basically the father finds out about what the whatever you call it, the security guard has been doing.
Yeah.
And he goes to her apartment and he bangs her over the head with a VCR or something.
Well,
and
she had smuggled
the one thing
she had smuggled in VCR tapes,
from
movies into the daughter, and I don't know. Do you know the dance? Go ahead, finish.
Hey, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, like, that one scene, he hits her over the head, and the one thing he says that stuck with me is he goes, I hope your children grow up surrounded by bad influences. Surrounded by bad influences and become bad people. Right. And I was like, oh,
and that's supposed to be that's why
that says a lot about his character.
Yeah. I got the concept. None of it was like, why are people doing what they're doing?
No, I'm not saying you did. I'm just saying that I like that.
I just don't know if people would. Yeah, this was hilarious to me. And I mean, I actually did laugh. I don't know if you probably don't realize it, but that entire dance that she does at the anniversary party, the daughter, is the climactic dance from Flashdance. So one of the movies, so one of the movies that got smuggled in, because she's quoting Rocky and talking about Jaws.
I got the Rocky
Jaws.
Moment,
She obviously saw Jaws, but Flashdance, that whole dance she does is from Flashdance. As crazy
funny,
as it was, if you're watching it from my generation, you're like, she's doing Maniac from.
She had a great performance, I will say. In that, at least, I thought she did great in that.
It's just too much sex for the point of. It was shock sex. I'll give you an example. The scene where the mother and father just had sex and they're watching porn. There's a shot where he has to show the screen of porn where you literally see a blowjob being given.
Yeah.
And then it cuts.
That's a good point.
And then it cuts to the mother and dad watching the porn on the couch, seeing that they just had sex while watching porn. And I just kept going, but you didn't. You could have just had them watching it, and we could have had the sound effects. We would have known what they're watching on a TV with a TV flashlight. Or it could have been a scene of the porn that wasn't that gratuitous. I've seen plenty of people who are watching quote unquote adult films in a movie, and it doesn't have to be, a full-on blowjob or entry or anything like that.
Yeah.
And again, so many of the sex scenes, I was like, no, we're going to make sure that you see her manipulating him. We're going to make sure we see everything. I got to be honest with you. There's one sex scene, I'm almost 100% sure they were having sex. I don't think you can fake it. You're like,
yeah.
The guy had an erection. Yeah. There's no cutting away. It was just like, if they're not having sex, I don't know how they're pulling it off. I just felt like shooting that stuff, it was so gratuitous and took me out of the story. Because then I'm like going, this kind of an interesting concept is now really hung up on a 2.5-minute sex scene. And I'm sure if you talk to him, be like, well, you have to see the raw edge, and it's not as visceral if you feel more uncomfortable when you... And again, I don't know what I'm giving away, but this movie does at one point finally delve into incest, and that sex scene went on too long. And I'm like, now it's an incestual love scene, and I'm like, oh my God. So, I know you're a big fan of this guy. I'm going to cut him a little bit of slack because this was one of his first films. He has obviously honed his craft well. I did not care for Killing of a Sacred Deer. I thought it was okay. I definitely did not like The Lobster. And The Favorite I enjoyed very much. So I think he is a filmmaker that has matured over time and is not going to those shock values as much. But I think he had a great idea and he got caught up in himself. And in some ways, he ended up shooting a skin flick. Dogtooth gets a... I'm right on the fence, bro. I'm gonna give it a C-. It's close to a D+. Right. I'm close to a D+, right. But I'm gonna give it a C- because conceptually, he's got a story there. He just went way over the deep end.
Yeah, I like this a little bit more than you did, but not by much. I will say, I definitely agree with you. It was a lot graphically that I don't think needed to happen. I would have gotten the same idea if, like you said, you did some camera tricks and stuff. With a lot being said, I've yet to mention this, but this movie is shot beautifully. I mean, goddamn, the house looks gorgeous. The coloring they did was fantastic. I mean, it really does look amazing.
Yeah, it's all right. It's not great. It's pretty natural, Jackson.
It was. Well, yeah, doing natural is hard.
Yeah.
No, please explain cinematography to me, please.
I don't know, buddy. I was too busy watching some girl jack off a guy in a basement.
Right. Well, I'm not talking about that. I'm saying I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the shots.
I could see everything.
I'm talking about the outside, like there's a lot of great stuff they did with the outside. I just thought it was colored fantastically.
Gotcha.
But also I wasn't. In a weird way, it was like, why is this look? This looks way too pretty to be the type of movie that it is.
Yeah.
So for everything I like, there's a thing that I like slightly less. And overall, I'm just gonna give this a 6 and call it a day. I definitely see that there has been a great amount of growth since this movie, and I'm glad there was.
Right.
And the one thing I was thinking the whole time was, oh my God, this would be so much better if Colin Farrell was in it, because when those two work together, magic happens every time.
And he's got a beautiful, beautiful penis, so we would have enjoyed seeing his penis much more than the unknown Greek actor's penis who we had to see. So
that is true.
Interesting. Looks like, so I'm giving Bodies a C, and I like Dogtooth a little less with C-. And looks like you gave Bodies a 5, but you like Dogtooth just a little bit more, so you give it a 6. Am I correct?
Not by much, though. Overall, this was pretty disappointing, because I really do love this guy's work, and the whole time I was just going, man, this is a tough sell.
Did you actually try to watch this with your mother?
She just came downstairs and was like, can I watch this with you? And I was like, look, I'm 10 minutes in. You're not going to like this. I'm not going to stop you, but leave when you want. And she did leave when she wanted.
Did you get to any of the the really graphic stuff, like the...
I kicked her out. I was like, you should go.
You should go.
Like, right when, like, I think it was when the parents have that really awkward sex scene. I was like, this isn't
that was super weird.
Yeah.
Headphones and all, like they
The headphones
both go
on
into their own
just-
music. Like imagine having sex. You've got headphones on. She's listening to something different. Oh
Yeah.
my goodness gracious. Oh man, don't you feel like a lot of films have just been kind of right down the middle for us lately. It's been kind of a
It's been a while. It's been a bit of time since I've been blown away by anything.
It's like this summer. We haven't really been like, oh god, that was horrible. But seems like it's been a lot of just like, yeah, like nothing's really,
especially the new stuff. Nothing's really,
it's not resonating.
So
I have to tell you, we always talk trailers in this. I think the next new one that I'm excited about is The Menu. I think that's...
When does that come out?
I want to say in September or October. That's Ray Fiennes and
I am very excited for that because I love Ray Fiennes. Oh my god, I cannot get enough Ray Fiennes. But that I'm excited for the Olivia Wilde movie. I always forget what it's called.
Don't worry, Darling.
Don't worry, darling.
Yeah,
Don't Worry, Darling. Excited for that. But I think that's not until September, which I guess is coming up.
Yeah.
There's, shockingly, you're not going to be into this, but there was a trailer for a new Disney, Pixar movie that actually looked pretty good.
Is that the one, they're in some weird world and things are colorful?
Strange Worlds or something? Or it looked like my thing. It looked like kind of a Disney version of Spirited Away.
I'm not crazy about the animation. It's not.
I know it. I'm not going to make you see it, but I'm just saying I personally am excited for that.
Yeah.
Well, here's my thing, and I've been thinking about this. Here's my thing with the animation take.
Why I hate animation?
I feel like you just haven't seen enough of it. Because, hear me out. I think all of the animated stuff that you've seen has been mostly directed towards children. So it would be the same thing if I was like, yeah, I'm just not a big movie guy. I've seen the Muppets. I've seen, I feel like your sample size has been too small, and you haven't seen anything that has adult messages in it or darker themes.
I could disagree because you know what the first animated movie I ever saw in the theaters was? Heavy Metal, which was it was like a dark animated kind of set to hard rock music, sci-fi, futuristic film. I've seen animated.
Well, all right, maybe I'm wrong then.
I just don't enjoy them as much. I don't know why. You know why? Because I think I'm just picturing all the actors with cans on their head and in a studio somewhere just saying lines into a microphone. And then I'm thinking about the artists drawing this and sitting on their computers now and doing I'd rather just watch. And
that's fair. I mean, if it's just not your thing, I'll take it.
Yeah, I mean, if they're good, if they're really, really good, I can still enjoy them. There are animated films and shows that I like. It's just not what I gravitate towards. But you have to admit, has there been an animated film since we started this in the last few years that's come out that you went, wow, can't wait to see that? And I've been like, why? No, they're all...
No, well, except for this new one that I just mentioned. But
right.
None of them, it's been pretty schlocky so far, at least from the mainstream releases.
Yeah.
I do think Studio Ghibli just announced they're doing one more with Miyazaki, I think, so I'm excited for that, but we'll see.
You're not an anime nerd, though, are you?
No, but I mean, Studio Ghibli is Studio Ghibli. It's the best. They're the Scorseses of the animated world. It's top notch. You can't go wrong.
The Scorseses of the animated world.
It is, but look. Say what you will, but Hayao Miyazaki is the best to put
say
pen to
what
paper.
you will. Say what you will.
Spirited Away, Howl's Moving Castle, My Neighbor Totoro. These are classics, and you can't deny that. But
I'll take your word for it.
Not speaking of anything, but we did see one more movie this week. Just last night, I briefly mentioned it in the intro, and that was Moon, a movie that you've been trying to get me to watch for a bit now, right?
Okay, so you know how you always do a disclaimer before a movie.
Before
your review, I'm going to do a disclaimer.
No, go ahead. Do your disclaimer.
So I saw that Moon was on one day, and I was like, I saw it years and years ago. And I just remember it was a highly acclaimed movie and that I really, really liked it. And I remembered what it was about and what happened. But it had been many, many years. And I also remember going, this was before Sam Rockwell. I think the only thing Sam Rockwell had done before this was maybe Galaxy Quest, which he is great in, by the way.
He was in Galaxy Quest?
Oh, my God. He's so funny. He's the best part of Galaxy Quest.
He's
like the dude who's gonna get killed, the red shirt guy who's he's like the Oh God.
Oh yeah.
He's the one who's like, yeah, he's so good in that.
He is funny in that. I only ever remember what's his face? The guy who played Snape. What's
Alan Ruck.
Alan? Yeah, I only ever remember him in that.
Yeah. But long before 3 Billboards, I remember going, man, this guy is good, and he plays multiple versions of himself, and the technology at the time of making him play off each other was so good. So I really hyped this up to Jackson, like, this is a great sci-fi movie. And I still do think it is a really good film. I forgot Kevin Spacey was the voice of Gertie, kind of the two.
I did not know that. I missed that.
Kind of the Hal of, to me, this is like what 2001 should have been, an exciting,
That's a bold statement.
Film. It's what it.
That's a hot take.
2001's horrible. This is what.
No, I agree with you, but
a man isolated in space with a machine that may or may not be working with him or against him. You can obviously make the comparisons to 2001, and this is such a better film. With that said, it's not. It doesn't hold up quite as much as I remember.
Yeah.
But I still think it's a great film, and I think it's worth seeing. For Sam Rockwell. I'm sure I gave it an A back in the day. Right now, I would give it an A-.
Okay. Sam Rockwell was amazing in this. Like, regardless of the rest of the movie, like, his performance alone makes this movie worth seeing.
Yeah.
He's a fantastic actor. He has one of the best performances of all time in 3 Billboards. I mean, he is that character. Love Sam Rockwell. The one issue with this movie, and I always say this, I did like some of the effects that they did in this. I thought it was very impressive, like when he's touching himself, like his other version of himself.
Yeah.
I was like, I even said it, I was like, how'd they do that?
Yeah.
I just don't get it. But
the movie involves clones. We're not getting the movie's old.
Clones, yeah. A lot of this movie's visual effects did not age well.
It's
like
it's
where I'm watching, I'm like, oh, and here's my thing. Practical effects always age so much better than visual effects do. Because visual effects is such a constantly moving and updating system, whereas practical effects we've kind of hit the limit of, I feel like. Say what you will about 2001. 2001 looks miles better than this movie does, at least from a visual standpoint. It just does, even though I do not like 2001 at all. But and I do think the Hal character in 2001 is a bit more interesting than the AI was in this. But overall, I did definitely enjoy Moon a lot more than I did 2001. I thought the ending was pretty good because it kind of ended on a more. I wish they'd ended it on a more ambiguous note, though.
Yeah,
I didn't like how they added in all of the
the little voiceover.
He's saving the thing. I was like, oh, we could have just had him go down and let our minds go.
He got there, and who knows what happened to him? Yeah.
That also could have been a studio decision.
Note, yeah.
I think you told me this once, but I was reminded of it again last night. David Bowie's son directed this, which is pretty. I thought very impressive. Yeah. I would have been impressed with it had I not known that.
And it was his story. He didn't do the screenplay, but it was his story.
Exactly. Yeah, it was his story as well. So yeah, I really enjoyed this. This is a really good movie. See it for Sam Rockwell for sure. Overall, I'm gonna give this a 7. This is really solid for sure.
So let me ask you this, Jackson. Then we'll wrap things up here on the PGM podcast, the only podcast that puts father and son together against each other to talk about movies. Sometimes special effects just don't hold up. Okay, but let me ask you this. Let's say you write a screenplay right now. And it is an amazing story. And you're going to have to shoot this as an independent film. And you're going to have to raise funds any way that you can. And let's say you are able to raise $4 million to make this movie. Okay? And you're like, listen, we're going to have to cut some corners. This film takes place in a wasteland, an apocalyptic wasteland. There's no place else this story could take place. That's the heart of the story. But I don't have $100 million for Avatar effects, and I can't afford to build a set, that's 3 stories tall that looks like a wasteland. So I'm going to have to do the best I can. And some of the special effects are going to be not as good as things you've seen in other things, and the lighting's not going to be exactly where I want it to be, but the story, I got to tell this story, and I only have $4 million to do it. And you make that film, and everything turns out as best as it can with that budget. Do we hold that against you as a filmmaker and go, you know what my biggest problem with your movie was? Is the moon. It was so distracting because in the background I could tell that had been drawn in, and you're like, it was. That's all I could afford. I know that I could have sent it to Lightstorm, and James Cameron could have had a team of 50 people make it look like, superimpose this.
Yeah.
So when you say like a movie like Moon, remember, this was this guy's first film. It didn't have huge studio backing. He probably had to raise money through his dad and production companies and this and favors. And, at the time, the best actor he could get was Sam Rockwell, who's fantastic, but it wasn't like, he couldn't get a big name at the time.
Yeah.
So can you you understand where I'm coming from? I mean, sometimes you have to,
I do,
sometimes you have to look at a film,
disagree.
but sometimes you have to look at a film and go, listen, I don't know the story. That's in 2009 on $5 million. That's the best they could do.
Okay. I see what you're saying, but I disagree, and here's why, for a couple reasons. When you're making a movie and the visuals are so distracting that they take away from the story, that's a failure no matter what. I don't care what your budget is. When that is distracting from the story, that is a failure on your part, regardless of budget. I will say this. If you are making a movie or you have an idea for a film and you're like, this is going to take a lot of practical effects and I don't have the money for it and I can't get the funding for it, don't make that movie. Because it's not going to be the way you want it to be.
You're a dream killer.
You have to. No, I'm not. No, I'm not. You have to. There are everyone. You need to make another idea. Is what I'm saying. You have to build up to that. Steven Spielberg's first movie was not E.T., even though it was his dream project, because it took him time to get there to where it needed to be. You have to be able to work towards that dream project, and then when you get there, and the effects look fantastic, it looks the way you want it to, it's going to be that much better, and that's going to elevate the story and make for a better film. So it's basically asking the question, do you want to make a kind of shitty-looking movie now with that detracts from the story, or wait a couple of years until you gain some notoriety, work a little bit, make those connections, and have that same story, but have it be that much better because it's propped up by good effects?
I got one.
I vote on waiting.
I got one word.
If the story matters that much to you and it's that much of an important movie to you, you can wait.
I got one word for you. Jaws.
What about Jaws?
Shoot the movie you can.
But that made it better though. That was a situation where that made it for a better film.
Tell me in the scenes with Bruce the shark if it doesn't look as fake as possible. I mean, when that thing comes out of the water, it looks like a Muppet, right?
Not to me.
Oh,
I'm dead serious. Well, I mean, I know it is, but like, it doesn't. That still does not take away from the story to me. Like, I still watch Jaws, and I go, oh, that's the shark. It only look. My whole thing is when I watch a movie, I'm not taking in any of the budgetary, any of that. I'm keeping that away from my score. My score is based solely off of what I think about how your movie looks, sounds, feels, and makes me feel, I guess, like the emotions behind it. However, whatever else elements happen behind the scene, that's business. That's not my job.
Well, I am not letting you read my new script, Tarantula Planet.
Tarantula
Planet, and I'm going to shoot it for $5,000, and it's because the story will rise.
You got this.
The story will rise above any special effects that are missing. And by the way, can you play a tarantula? Because that would really help me.
I'll think about it. I'll mull that over.
Yeah.
Mull that over.
All right. We got movies to see.
Wow.
Things to do. Blah blah blah. Follow me, please, at Regan.Burns on Instagram. You can follow my son at Jackson N. Burns, I believe. A little extra N in there on Instagram. Follow PGN Podcast on Instagram, TikTok, and make sure to like us and thumbs up and all that on either Spotify or YouTube. Or you know what? Why not both, Jackson? Why not both?
Why not both?
And
Why
please,
not both? 5
look,
stars on Spotify as well.
look at my coloring. It's gotten worse. My eyes are sunken. I look like shit. Oh my God, why did we start this at 10 o'clock in the morning? Let's never do that again. I know how I make that seem so early. By the way, I've been up since 5:30, so I don't even know why I'm complaining.
Yeah, I was just saying, why are you complaining? I feel like you've been up for a bit now.
Yeah, there you have it. All right, everybody.
There you have it.
Until next time. Love you, buddy.
Love you too. Peace out.